Good evening, and welcome to the regular meeting of the Council of the City of Long Beach, held Tuesday, February 7th, 2023, at 7 p.m. We'll have a roll call. Councilmember Postoli.
Here.
Councilmember Lester. Here. Councilmember McGinnis is absent. Vice President Treston.
Here.
President Bendo.
Here.
Let the record indicate the presence of Acting City Manager Ron Walsh and Corporation Counsel Rich Barrios. We'll now have a salute to the flag.
I'm going to ask our Public Works Commissioner to do it from out in the audience.
To the flag of the United States of America, to the republic which stands one nation, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I was like, I'm ahead of people. That was funny.
All right, good evening, everyone. Welcome to our first meeting of February. And hope everyone's having a good winter so far. And we will start with the city manager's report.
Good evening, everybody, and thank you all for coming to see government in action. I want to acknowledge that this month is Black History Month, so please take some time to try and get involved in some of the events that are going on around the city and the county celebrating Black history. Our first order of business today is going to be an update on the... not yet. I'll tell you in a minute. An update on our... the dissolution of the LDC by our Corporation Council.
Good evening, everyone. So, as everyone may recall, back in, I think, September of 22, City Council voted to dissolve the LDC. That's the Local Development Corporation. It's essentially a public not-for-profit corporation designed to do certain things, like hold property, sell property, that government couldn't otherwise do. Due to the fact that it was underutilized, the City Council thought it prudent to dissolve that. So we're taking steps affirmatively to do that. What we've done so far, assigned counsel has been proceeding in the process. I think during our last council meeting addressing this issue, it does take time because there's some bureaucracy involved. So filing the papers isn't necessarily the issue. It's the time in which the Attorney General and all the approving agencies have to take to approve that final dissolution. Takes a lot of time. So there's a lot of red tape. We filed our appropriate IRS Form 990s, which is basically a postcard tax return. We've done that very recently. We're proceeding in the dissolution process, and the hope is that within a year, the LDC will be dissolved, and we can declare that. That's my update.
Great. Thank you very much. Guess there's no better time than now. Some exciting news and sad news at the same time. Our Corporation Counsel has an exciting new career opportunity that he's going to be exploring. So Rich Barrios will be leaving us in about a month, but I wanted to let everybody know that that is something that is happening behind the scenes. We are more than sad to see Rich leave us in any way. It's not about money, trust me, I tried. He has opportunities that he wishes to explore, and while we'll probably bring a cake or something on his last meeting just to celebrate his time with the city, I personally want to say not only thank you, but the amount of information and the amount of knowledge that you've given to me in just the 2 years that I've been here has been completely invaluable, and I not only respect you, but I thank you for everything that you've done for the city so far. So thank you, Rich. And whether it's appropriate or not, I'm applauding for this guy because he's fantastic. I really think.
Thank you very much.
Yep, that's your 15 minutes. So, the next thing I want to talk about is an award that we received here in the city, which is it's a Distinguished Budget Award that we received. You want to screen up for this one? You know, we have a picture of the award so that we can hold it. Sure. Huh? Yeah. All right. You want to hold it up? That's fine. So there's an organization called the Government Finances Officers Association, and that was established as a program that, they give out these distinguished budget awards. And this started in 1984, actually. And it was actually designed to encourage governments and governance teams to prepare budget documents at the highest quality and the highest level. They have approximately 1,800 different government agencies have received this award since '84, including states, cities, counties, special districts, school districts, and they've all been recognized for their transparency in their budgeting and budgeting process. And to earn the recognition, the budget documents have to meet a lot of different program criteria and excel as a policy document, a financial plan, an operations guide, and a community tool. This award is given to this city for last year's budget, and it demonstrates that the City of Long Beach actually has prepared a very high-quality budget document, and that it is recognized as one of the best in the industry. And so my hat goes off to you, Ina, and everyone actually, because the budget document that's prepared here in the city is something that's informed by every single one of our department heads. They come in, they work. I'm going through the process now. A lot of meetings reviewing everything that's spent, and hopefully we'll be in line to get another one of these again. So is the picture up on the screen? So that's what the award looks like. It's a sort of a kudos to us. So I wanted to make sure that the community knew about that. Our next announcement will be Miss Patty Bourne. So we have a very exciting announcement that she wants to make that we were in the papers for already.
Is this working, Dave? No.
You can turn it on. So that's what the big check is, right?
You can hear me?
Yep.
Yes. Well, no. This is a big check, but I don't think we can cash it.
No, I don't think we're done.
We already spent it, Patty.
Oh, I know, twice over. I'm going to stand outside of the slide projector. Good evening. This is a very exciting award to the City of Long Beach of $4.5 million for infrastructure and related improvements in our central downtown on Park Avenue, specifically around the Long Island train station and City Hall. A quote from the application we submitted to the state. Through a series of smart improvements, the city seeks to create an environment, culture, and infrastructure which enhances its residents and visitors' quality of life while increasing the city's commercial tax base. I want to make 3 quick points. Ron said to make it quick. First, it's an unusual grant as the city doesn't get the money directly, as we do typically if DPW gets a road grant or a water district improvement. The state has set up a very strict 2-part process, although this could very well help us with future grants because now we're in the inner team of the state. So the first part is working with the state's consultants. They hire the consultants themselves. We don't hire the consultants. There will be a public engagement process which takes maybe 6 to 7 months. And through that process, there will be a set of priorities established which will be submitted to the state. Then the state decides what the priorities actually are. So we're actually submitted to the state. Now, I want to make a second point. This is a very competitive grant. There are only 2 awards on Long Island in its first year. And we were selected based on 2 factors. I'm really supporting what our acting city manager already said. It's what Long Beach has already accomplished in the public sector, such as the financial award, in the private sector, through private investments. It's what we've all done together. And the second part of why we're selected, the criteria, is our potential as a downtown, as a destination for residents, businesses, and our visitors. And we did go through a process, you may recall, the application. Everyone who is already working to make this city a better place, my planning colleague John McNally and George Sheeper, who is our part-time master planner. And of course, our city council, who have shown their leadership and support for the future of the city. And finally, the acting city manager, Ron Walsh, who has been supportive of our downtown and economic development since the day we started. So the state process, I'm emphasizing the state, not ours, the state, should start in March next month. There will be outreach as directed by the state, and you will be all invited to be part of the process, and I hope you are. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Patty. Great job. Patty was integral in actually putting together those documents, as was our, DPW team, and it was a great job. It's a distinguished group of two, really, to be in, and we're very proud to receive it. And I would be remiss if I didn't thank Governor Hochul and that Department of State and everything for getting it to us. So it's great news. What I want to do also now at this point is I want to start reviewing. So one of the complaints when I was sitting out there that I heard from the city and the city residents was they ask questions and they seem to go into a vacuum and there's no answers. So there were 4 actual questions that were posed to us up here that we did some work on between this meeting and last meeting, and I want to give some answers. So there was a whole discussion about the Tennessee pump station and the forced main to get the water out of the area. So we did some investigation into that, and the pump station down on Tennessee. There is actual pump logs in this particular station. It's an electronic thing, and they only go back 10 days. So those pump logs for the last 10 days are reading perfectly normal. I did speak myself personally with the staff member from the city who was actually in the pump station during the flood that we had, and he explained to me actually the way the pumps actually worked, how they turned on, how they shut off. They never shut off. They were, he actually used his hands. He said it kind of went like this. The water level went up, the pump turned on, it went down, it went up, it turned on, and then, the level went down, and then the water started gradually rising, and it pinned to the top. And the pump never shut off. It actually was pumping the entire time. So we're actually working with the company that actually is connected to that pump via the internet, trying to see if they have the backlogs, just to add a level of comfort to some people who ask questions about that. Ms. Helen Dorado Alessi came up representing the Long Beach Latino Association, asking us to do some translation of our agendas. So for our Spanish-speaking members of the audience and members of our public, all of our agendas are now translated into Spanish, and they are available to the public. Thank you.
It's Helen.
Is that Helen? Hi, Helen. Told you, trying to make you happy. We also had a question about Long Beach Boulevard. Long Beach Boulevard was said that it was a dangerous actual location, and people wanted to see a little bit more attention to the violations and stuff that took place. So between that meeting and the 13th, I'm sorry, not the third, what's today, the 7th? So the 6th, we had 17 what's called directed patrols above and beyond normal patrol activity down in the police department, where the officers specifically went to that location and did enforcement efforts. They issued 17, I'm sorry, I'm looking at my notes here, I wrote sloppy, 13 summonses at the location. They spent quite a bit of time at the location. The hours that they chose to do the busy hours of the day, so at 4:30 to 6 o'clock in the afternoon, evening time, they were there. So attention is being paid to that to try and decrease the number of accidents. That is the #1 accident location in the city of Long Beach, and the attention is actually warranted. The last thing I want to cover was a controversial topic that the city recognizes. So Dave, would you mind putting up on our screen? So the last thing that I want to cover is actually the question that came up and concern about the overtime. There was some aspersions, or not aspersions, but statements made that overtime was, over $2 million up and stuff like that. So what you're seeing on the screen there, I'm assuming that it's up. Is it up there if everybody can see what's on the screen? You might not be able to see the numbers. But what it actually is a breakdown of the actual overtime expenses and the salaries of our paid fire department. You're going to see some very large numbers on that screen. because everything that we do here in this city is done, especially in places like that, through collective bargaining agreements. And those collective bargaining agreements have provisions in them that require, mandate actions that workers are entitled to have and stuff like that. So what you're seeing on the board, the $373,000 is the number one earner, and then you have, going on down the list of earning there. It's a lot of money. Nobody disagrees that that's a lot of money. You have approximately $3,408,000 on the board, but it's actually $3,436,000, I believe, is the actual dollar amount, because there's some other small things that aren't entitled, that are entitled, but they're not related to the actual hourly rate and the pay that way. I've been having meetings and inserted myself into the fire department negotiations at this point. You have a fire department that's as concerned about the expenditures here as we are. There has been movement towards ways that the paid fire force is giving us ideas on how they feel that they can help to reduce the fire department expense on the overtime immediately while we're in negotiations. I certainly implored upon them a sense of urgency that this is not something that can take months and months and months to be solved. I believe that the fire department is dealing with us in a much more genuine fashion. I've been told that they appreciate the fresh look at things, and that I am optimistic that we can come to some sort of agreement. But know this, there's not a penny on that board, that screen there, that we're not aware of. And there's not a penny on it, on that screen, that we want to see increase. And we are committed to doing what's necessary to get that down. The main reason why you see that is because of the restrictions that we have on hiring. When what most of that is attributed to is the fact that our paramedic rank is actually below the market rate for hiring. And when we lose the paramedics, nobody wants to come back and be a paramedic here because the rate of pay is so low. So the focus is on how do we solve the issue of providing a ALS, which is a higher level of ambulance care to this community, because there's a need there, and hiring people at a rate where they're willing to come in. So it's a focus, it's an attention, and we're looking at new and creative ways to actually move that process forward. So I believe it was Mr. Paganini who came up and brought this to the council's attention and challenged us as a city government to be aware of it. Part of being transparent is being in the public and letting the public know what's happening. And that's pretty much where I think we are with that. We can't violate the sanctity of a negotiation, but we certainly can let the public know that we're aware of it, and that the fire department union, as well as the city, is in active negotiations of trying to come up with solutions to the issue that you see on that screen. So thank you. That concludes my city manager's report.
All right, thank you. And I guess I just want to point out, especially regarding that budgetary award that we got,
Is your mic on?
yes, just to remind everyone,
Yikes.
it was just a few years ago, this city was ranked as the most fiscally distressed municipality in the state of New York. And in 3 short years, we're now getting awards for our budget. That took a lot of work by the people that work in this building, the other buildings around the city, putting their heads down and really working to get this place back on track. So that award's kind of a monument to all the employees who have worked hard to get us back where we need to be. So I just think people need to think about that, where we've gone in just 3 short years, how far we've come. And I guess just one other thing, I think, just to say about Rich, I think he's going to do fine at Chippendales, and wish him luck. So let's move on to the agenda.
Okay. Our first item this evening is a public hearing for an ordinance to amend the Code of Ordinances of the City of Long Beach regarding housing and property rehabilitation and conservation code mortgage and default registry.
Okay, and I will open the public hearing on that.
I can kick this off. So good evening again. History. We passed last year an ordinance that basically increased this up to $1,000. It was a way to kind of get a little bit more, I guess, revenue for the city to some degree. What we were not aware of and what we were not given a heads up on is that Governor Hochul had, there was a bill in the pike that was eventually passed through the, I believe, the mortgage bank lobby that basically handcuffed us to $75 and changed the requirements for this mortgage and default registry. So for those who don't know, this was a program passed a while back. Mortgage and default registry basically required people to mortgage banks to register the properties so we can monitor them so they don't become zombie homes. That process was ongoing for a while. We had a third party servicing it, so now by law we're required to reduce this to $75 and adjust our registration requirements so that the mortgage bank must only register after the notice of pendency during a foreclosure proceeding. So we have to basically change the law to comply with the law. And that's my take on it.
Okay, any questions or comments from the council? Seeing none, any from the public? Okay, so this was basically the lobbyists winning this round, is what this is. So, up in Albany. Just as a note, because I did look it up, our assemblyman did vote against this. So, but it is what it is. So I will then close the public hearing, and we'll move on.
Okay, on to the regular calendar. Item 1 is an ordinance to amend the Code of Ordinances of the City of Long Beach regarding housing and property rehabilitation and conservation code, mortgage and default registry. A hearing has been held on this item already. Item 2 is a resolution authorizing the acting city manager to purchase industrial and commercial equipment and supplies under 2 Sourcewell contracts.
So this particular item is, the Sourcewell is a conglomeration of numerous government agencies that can sign on to basically the equivalency of a state bid for Fastenal and Garner. Both of those are sort of catalogs that you go into and make needed purchases as they're necessary throughout the operations. A particular bolt, a particular tool that we may not have. We need a crate to hold certain things that are available to us that can be shipped to us, and it's at a state bid price.
Okay.
You want something to say?
Just the reason we're doing it is because we used to be off of the New York State contract on this. We received notice earlier, late in the year last year, that they were going to lapse. So we needed to basically re-up, and this is why we're doing it.
Yeah.
Okay. Any questions from the council members? Seeing none, any from the public? Okay, next item.
Item 3 is a resolution authorizing budget amendments to the general fund budget and the sewer fund budget for the 22-23 fiscal year.
Ina, you want to talk to this one specifically and explain the machinations to it?
Poor Joe.
Second. That's good.
The mic is off.
Still up.
No, it's still off.
Can you hear me now?
There we go. Okay.
You want me to start since I had a little? Yeah, this is a resolution authorizing the acting city manager to transfer funds from the sewer fund budget to the general fund budget to hire 2 personnel utilizing funds from the retirement of 2 personnel in the city. There were 2 retirees from the sewer maintenance department. One's a grade 18 supervisor that was making $90,767, and the other is a grade 10 heavy equipment operator that was making $64,038. As a result of this transfer, they're going to be replaced with two new hirees. One's a grade 14 heavy-duty mechanic, making $64,464, so that's a $26,303 savings. And there's going to be a grade 8 laborer hired that's making $46,873, so it's a $17,165 savings. Overall, there'll be a $43,468 savings by hiring these two lower-level employees. This is part of the restructuring / transition of the sewer department into other city departments that will be responsible for maintenance of the storm sewer system as a result of the Long Beach Water Pollution Control Plant Consolidation Project. We intend to leave some positions vacant or hire personnel in lower level positions. Both will save the city money moving forward. In addition, the new hirees, they have to pay into their medical benefits as opposed to the old ones who did not have to, so that's another savings for the city. If you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer them. Ida would as well.
And I see Roy reaching for the mic, so I assume he's got a question.
Joe, I'm trying to understand it, but I kind of got lost here.
Sure, go ahead.
We saved $43,000 with these two new people.
Correct. That's correct.
And so we have an increase, you have an increased appropriations of $125,000.
That's correct. That's what you have in the resolution. That's
Right.
correct.
And of that, $25,000 goes to regular salary, then another $18,000 goes to salary, so that's 43 right there. Then $82,000 goes to contingency. What is the contingency and why do we need that?
Okay, sure. I will try to explain it. So the difference between the numbers that Joe had mentioned and $125,000 is in the fact that the employees from the sewer department, they retire towards the beginning of the year. So what Joe was talking about is an annual savings if all things are equal and people are working for the same period of time. So we had a saving of not filling this position for almost half a year, more than that. So that hence 125. Why we're moving money into contingency is because we are, as Joe had mentioned, we're engaged in appropriate planning for the sewer plant consolidation. So we are absorbing the operations, the former operations of the sewer plant and the functions of the sewer plant in the general fund. Hence, those two positions were hired. As of now in the general fund, remaining funds were put into contingency because things will come up in the general fund, or might not. Hence, it's in contingency that will relate to the functions that now general fund employees are performing for the sewer fund. So what this resolution says, it says that when before we had budgeted these expenses in the salaries lines of the sewer fund, now we are moving this budget into the expense line that's called transfers to the general fund.
So
Because-
right now, we don't have a place where this money's going, we're just putting it aside.
Yes,
In case
in
we need
anticipation of expenses.
Great. Okay, thanks.
Sure.
Okay, any other questions from the council? Seeing none, any from the public? All right, thank you. Seeing none, next item.
Item 4 is a resolution authorizing budget amendments to the Community Development Fund for the 45th program year.
Yeah, Patty.
Good evening again. The city gets funds from the Nassau County Office of Community Development. They get the funds from the federal government, from HUD. And the county and the federal government have already approved these transfers. And this is an old budget line, and transferring the money will allow us to use the funds efficiently, as based upon current needs. So very quickly, the PF&I, which is for public facilities and improvements, recreation center upgrades, there are other funds that have taken care of this need. The residential rehabilitation is moving funds so that we can do at least one house through the county in residential rehabilitation. Special economic development, Long Beach Rise, is a special internship program that we've had to help young people learn about city government. We had it successfully last summer, and we'll anticipate continuing it this year. And the next one is TOD, which is Transit-Oriented Development, Street and Sidewalk Improvements, to provide some additional funds for the improvement we started through Joe's department, DPW, Joe Fabrizio, around City Hall that you've seen already, and this will give us some more money to expand the program, and we're anticipating other funds as well. The Youth Employment Program, it was put in the wrong line, so we're moving it to the correct line. The Soup Kitchen has funds from another project, so those funds aren't needed at this time. And the Youth Employment Training is programs around the city and the community to help employ young people and have them learn about the city. Are there any questions?
Patty, I don't have a question, but I just had a comment for you and the team who work on this. And I just want to thank you because the council recently had a really good opportunity to find out much more about this program, and myself became much more educated about it and learned how valuable it is to our community and in meeting these deadlines and that enabling us to get more funds down the road and how we use it. So I thank you, Ina, Monique, all of you for providing all that insight.
Thank you so much.
Patty, can you just, for clarity, just tell us when the 45th year is?
Well, we're currently in the 48th year, so that would have been 3 years ago,
Right,
so that's about 2020. Anything else?
Okay, any other questions from the council? Any questions from the public? Okay, thank you. What, we got one? Mr. Hodge hiding under a cap tonight?
Nice sweatshirt.
Thank you. As we celebrate, continue always celebrating Long Beach. James Hodge, 95 East Fulton Street, here in our great city. As I always say, there's Joe Brand there, from Nevada to Maple, from the Bay to the ocean. That only took 2 extra seconds, Joe. I'm always excited to be able to come up and speak to our elected officials and our city manager that represent our city. I just want to ask the city council, you said that you guys just did a major training, but some of you have been here for a long time. Do you know what community development funds are for? Anybody on the council? What these funds are specifically for, and remember, I just always say, you're on record.
It's not Q&A, James. It's so go ahead.
Well, hold on one second. Hold on. Commissioner and city manager, that's not directed to you. I thank you for that, but I'm talking to the council. I don't want to go back and forth with you, but this is a question to the council. It is a Q&A because I'm a taxpayer and I live here and I'm a resident. So I don't want it to be between me and you, but I want to ask.
Mr. Hodge, I appreciate that, but this is an agenda item. If you want to...
Yeah, so I'm on the agenda talking about community development.
This agenda item 4, we're talking about the transfer of funds.
Okay, so again, we're talking about community development funds, right? Okay, so do you know?
Yeah.
Okay, what is it? What is it?
Well,
I'm asking.
You want to give me, is it a test?
No, I'm trying to get more information. You said you guys know about it.
For this specific agenda item, we're transferring funds.
Okay, so I'll just finish. Go ahead.
No, you go ahead, please.
Well, I'll just say, you said we're just transferring funds. So I would like to just say that community development funds have a specific purpose, and it's supposed to be used for certain things, and Long Beach has a history of not necessarily utilizing community development funds for the purpose that the federal government give it to municipalities, states, and counties for. So I would just say, as we get ready to disperse more funds or transfer more funds, and you all can look up the history of what Long Beach has dispersed it on. I would just say, just so we stay in line with winning awards and doing all of that stuff, that you look at where this money is supposed to go to, so you as elected officials, as you have a fiduciary responsibility on policy and procedure, and you make sure that we guide things right, just look and see what it's for, because again, that would help a whole lot.
Well, James, I will say, I do know that they are for, like, to develop or to develop communities and provide economic opportunities, giving suitable living environments. Everything that is on this agenda this evening, rec center upgrades certainly goes toward that. All of the things that we are looking toward, youth employment training, the soup kitchen, it's all in alignment. So
all right,
is there an issue with something on
No,
here?
I'm saying, as you, I know you just looked it up, and that's good.
No,
but,
I've known it.
So you're on the phone. So as we continue to learn more about it, what I'm just saying is, because this is our city altogether.
Well, I just posed to you, so what here on the agenda, you obviously are very knowledgeable.
I'm saying
so are you saying any of these items bother you?
So I'm saying, no, she just said some monies was transferred and moved off, and you guys are going to do other things with, which I'm just saying, just look at what it's for, so that we can all be together and doing the right thing. I know that Community Development Funds has helped out a lot of areas that it was meant to be, and it has transferred and shifted over the last couple of years. Some of it was helping out the area that it's supposed to, low to moderate income and those things that you just mentioned. But of course, it's a whole lot of training that I've done on it. So thank you. I appreciate you.
Okay.
Thanks, James. So to the point, the money is for underserved communities, and there's demographic requirements that go with it. Much of the money goes to the North Park community because of the demographic. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, Patty, but the county has to approve all of where the funds go, correct? This is not just the city saying, I'm buying a seesaw for a park or whatever. The county has to approve all these, correct?
Yes, that's correct, as well as the federal government, because no funds are spent unless approval. And generally, just to expand what Mr. Hodge said, the federal regulations, which go back 48 years, because we're in the 48th years of community development, are for three reasons: to eliminate slums and blight, to benefit low and moderate income people, and to disaster recovery, which we know was very helpful right after Sandy. So what we're doing is consistent by location and by the population served. We can also use it for around City Hall to eliminate slums and blight, to improve the area. Slums and blight is kind of an old term from 50 years ago, but it's to make improvements to the downtown that are eligible to benefit the community.
So just to inform the public a little bit that's been listening and clarify a few things too, the Community Development Block Grant funding is a pass-through grant. It's what it's called. As Mr. Hodge said, it comes to the federal government, goes to the county. The county, then we make application to use it. We write a structure of where we want to apply the money, and then the county approves that plan. And they say how much money we're allowed to spend on certain things. It has to be spent within a certain zone. It's called the CDBG zone. That's based on our census data and what qualifies. They're 3-year grants, so the 45th year was good for 3 years following it. I believe that was, 2019?
Right.
Right, so 19, 20, and 21 were eligible for those expenses. They extended some courtesy to us to make some adjustments, because during that time, the qualifying areas change. And the rules and rubrics that are used change. So sometimes we'll make a plan to spend the money on A, and it no longer qualifies, so we move it to B. We also fully recognize, Mr. Hodge, that historically this city held that money sort of off to plug holes in the budgets from the past so that the money could be used to kind of fix something in the zone that wasn't originally planned for. That's not our intention at all going forward, just so you know. And the plan has been, since before I got here, but certainly now since I'm sitting in the seat, is to come up with a spending plan and a design for the money and spend the money as designed. So that's what we're trying to get to, although sometimes it's a bit of a moving target in that the county changes the rules midstream over the 3 years that the money is eligible. So that I just wanted to make sure the public understood that it's not as black and white, green, or whatever colors you want to put on it. It is actually very much a moving target at times to how you can spend the money and where you can spend it, and we work very hard to make sure we're within those rules. And rest assured, if we don't spend it properly, the county won't reimburse us, and the federal government, when they audit us, will hold us accountable. Thank you.
Okay, any more questions from the public on this? Ms. Lake?
Good evening, everyone. Crystal Lake. I would just like to clarify a few things, what previously had happened.
Can't hear you.
Yeah, just make sure that's on.
Okay. Crystal
Is it
Lake,
on?
good evening, everyone. I would just like to also
hang on.
clarify.
Just making sure that everybody can hear you. Yep, there you go.
Thank you.
Good.
Well, what had happened previously, the census data had not been updated.
Mhm.
So where the funds were supposed to have been used, a great deal of it went to other areas because the census data was not updated. So that occurred along the ocean side, in the luxury area, the more affluent area. And just recently, the data was updated. So that was one reason why North Park did not receive some of the entitled funding that they should have. So moving forward, there should be many other options that are requested to draw in a greater amount of money, meaning that the community development funds have decreased drastically over the past decade.
Yes, they definitely have.
Okay,
Yes.
so moving forward, maybe we can focus on other areas that we can discuss at a future date to try to bring in more funding.
So full disclosure,
Yes.
Ms. Lake, part of the reason why our funding actually went down was because past administrations didn't get the money spent in a timely enough fashion, and they started to slowly reduce the funding because we had too much money that we hadn't spent. I assure you that's not going to happen.
Okay, and also, if I may add, Census Tract 4165, it's very tricky because there's certain blocks that are indicated within North Park that basically pertain to the community of color. But when you look at the entire North Park, okay, so the funding and the wealth and the central business district is also included in North Park. So I think there are ways that we can generate a great deal of funding if we look at targeted areas as well. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. And just to note, next meeting, we'll be having a public hearing on next year's, or the upcoming year's plan, so we'll be looking for input
Okay.
on what we should be requesting.
All right, thank you.
Okay. Any other questions from the public? All right, seeing none, let's move on to item 5.
Item 5 is a resolution authorizing annual allocation of community development funds for the 48th program year.
Patty?
Good evening. So we've introduced the concept for tonight of community development, and this exciting resolution is to accept the funds for the current year so we can spend them. We applied last spring for what's called the 48th year, based upon, as President Bendo just said, public hearing and input from different departments and the public, and this is in the resolution what is proposed. It was submitted to the county, which submitted it to HUD, and it was approved. So quickly, to go over the allocation, we're allowed to request funds for administrative costs for the staff, and we were awarded $42,500 for that. For the ice hockey arena, the expenses include new interior doors, lockers, ADA, expenses, and the next one for the fire station, that's specifically for the fire station here, located in the same building at City Hall. It's for bunker gear and alarm panel. The transit-oriented development, that's a very small amount, it's only $1,000. So we put it in as recommended by the county as a placeholder in case we want to transfer money for that, for additional improvements. And then the next three lines are what's called public service for seniors, for young people, youth, and adult services. Adult services would help to support programs that are in need for the homeless population, people that don't have homes. And the last one, again, is a placeholder for another residential rehabilitation program that would be run by the county if we decide to go forward with that. So I'll be happy to answer any questions.
All right. Any questions from the council? Roy's
Yes.
reaching for the mic.
Patty, I know I've tried to get this straight before. I can't quite. I understand. Let's look at the ice hockey fire station and the
Yes.
senior services program. All of these occur within that geographical area,
Right.
and that's how they get to be funded.
Mm-hmm.
And it has to do with how many people use that are disadvantaged. Am I correct?
Well, actually, no, there's an area benefit, as Ms. Lake mentioned, this current census tract, which runs from Long Beach Boulevard and the bridge all the way down to Lindell, from Park Avenue to the Bayfront. So that's one census tract. So what we do within that census tract is eligible currently under the current census data, which includes the ice arena and also includes the fire station here at City Hall. That's why both the county and HUD approved the funds for that purpose. They both serve the entire population, but because the physical location of those facilities are in the eligible census tract, we can spend money there.
So it's the same with the senior center, though, correct?
Yes, the Magnolia Senior Center, sure.
I'm just trying to figure out the logic behind spending $100,000 for the ice arena and only $20,000 for the seniors, and we have thousands of seniors that use this, in this town, and that's the only senior center we have. And
Sure, that's a very good point. I guess I didn't explain it. There are two different categories mentioned here in the application. PF&I, public facilities and improvements, are for physical improvements, the kind of things that Joe Fabrizio's department does. PS is public services, and that's actual programs for different parts of our population. And we're limited by federal law to only spending 15% of that year's allocation for what's called public service in entirety. So if you add all that up, we can't go any higher for public service.
So this community development grant is basically a capital improvement program rather than a services program.
It's minor amount, 15%, up to 15% for helping people directly, yes.
Wow.
Yes,
Thanks.
that's the law, the federal law. Yes.
All right. Any other questions or comments? What, you got more, Patty?
No, that's
Oh.
fine, thank you.
Tina, you look like you...
Oh, no, I'm
Oh.
talking to myself.
Okay,
I've done that a
seeing,
lot. I've done that a lot.
seeing no more from the council. Any questions from the public? Mr. Hodge?
Just, you could use it too.
Oh, okay. James Hodge, 95 East Fulton Street, here in Great City. Just wanted to say, as we are speaking and you're getting clarifications, and thank you for those questions, Roy. So as Crystal Lake was saying, that as the new census data have come out, there's a lot of things that may qualify, but when we look at what areas are really low income and where it should be monies put into. And I know with the new census tract that just came out, I know that some of those areas probably will be, shrunk down, because I think that even, I know a lot of areas in the West End around Georgia that qualified, and a few others. If you look at the map, it has the different areas in Long Beach that qualify, but I know the new maps may kind of close it down. And also on here, I would say, again, a lot of organizations that deal with that population and the areas that can benefit off of this funds should be able to come and be invited. This department actually used to call organizations like Latino Civic, Circle, Project Challenge back in the day, John White, who I used to do work with, Curb, Jim, and others that used to do work with that population. They used to call them to meetings to try to say, even if we can give you 2,000 or 5,000, whatever it was. And I think that would be more inclusive of our whole city that's dealing with the population and the different areas that these monies qualify. And as you guys stated, yes, it went from at one time probably $1 million down to 600 to 400. It just kept dwindling down, down, down. So if you look at all of the years, it is so much money that I think maybe some administrations politically was holding it from here and holding it from there and end up keeping the money. So anything that can ever go, any monies that could ever qualify to go to our fire department, I am always, always an auxiliary police department. As a former member for 5 years, I'm always, always looking for funds to go to the fire department. They run in when we run out, and auxiliaries are always volunteering. So again, let us just continue to put these monies in areas that qualify and also work with different organizations that do the work around our whole city. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments from the public? All right, seeing none, on to item 6.
Item 6 is a resolution authorizing transfer of funds for the 22-23 fiscal year.
So this particular item is related to the medical screening of police candidates in the police department. These items are never really budgeted for in the police department budget. They're budgeted on the outside, and we historically always request a transfer in because you never know how long it takes to go through the list. We happen to open up a new band here of the 85 to 90 band was opened up, and this is part of the medical screening for that.
Okay, any questions from the public, from the council? Seeing none, any questions from the public? Okay, on to item 7.
Item 7 is a resolution authorizing transfer of funds for the 22-23 fiscal year.
So this is relatively self-explanatory as on its face. This is office equipment that's required for the city's tax department. It's a mechanical or letter opener as well as a cash counting machine.
All right, any questions from the council? Roy?
Do we, by any chance, have a breakdown on this? What we're paying for a letter
A
opener?
breakdown for each item?
Yeah. Or what we're paying for a cash machine?
Roy, is your mic on?
Yeah, it's on.
Yeah.
Good evening again. I think it's about 50-50. It's a little bit over $2,000 for the cash counter. It comes with the printer, and it counts cash and prints out whatever was counted, and the letter opener.
Letter openers, 2,000.
Maybe under that, but that's those are the prices,
Okay, thank you.
and that's from the state contract.
Okay.
But, yes, the question, but could you just explain, or, whomever, what that letter opener is? It's a high volume, it's, not the old.
Yeah, so Water and Sewer Department administration receives payments from the residents, and that there are over 9,000 residences, and individual water and sewer accounts. So when payments are received via checks and envelopes, they have to be opened, and that's what it's utilized for. We're also using a sealing machine to seal the envelopes when we send them out, bills out.
All right,
Okay.
Any more questions from the council?
Just one. You said the old one's broken. What would it cost to repair it?
So in my experience, I don't know how much it costs to repair that, but repairs of the small office equipment is prohibitively expensive because it's a very, very narrow area of expertise, and whoever is an expert in that and can fix it, it comes really expensive. My experience was not with the letter opener, but rather with the time clocks. And it's truly every visit here for someone who can fix the time clocks. You would have thought that it's a trivial function, but it's hundreds of thousands. It's hundreds of dollars, not hundreds of thousands. It's hundreds of dollars. So it almost makes no sense to go there.
Hundreds is still better than 2,000.
I just want to support something that Ina said. So the concept of repairs being cost prohibitive is actually a strange and dicey one, right? So under labor law, we pay prevailing wage, right? So we have to pay above and beyond what your average Joe would pay to repair it. If they have to move that equipment off-site to fix it and bring it back to you, it's, in my experience, it can be triple or quadruple the average hourly rate.
Did we have a service contract on a $2,000 machine?
This is an old
We
machine,
used to have
too,
a travel.
It's
We
a
used
very
to.
old machine.
What?
It's an old machine, too. From what my understanding was that this is well beyond its service
I
life.
have no idea. I have no idea.
So, it's at least 20 years old, Roy.
Is it?
It's an old machine, and
Roy, you can ask me that. It's 20 years old. At least 20 years old.
Okay.
I'll be happy to take you downstairs after the meeting and show you the broken one, if you'd like to see it.
I'll show you one of those things with open letters too.
It's almost 10,000 letters.
All right, any questions from the public? All right, seeing none, on to item 8.
Item 8 is also a resolution authorizing transfer of funds for the 22-23 fiscal year.
So this particular item, I'll handle it for right now, Ray, if you want, and if I miss anything, you let me know. But it's for overtime expenses. There was several, the actual, they're not over their budget yet, but they will be over their budget. Certainly, there were several unexpected illnesses that took place in the office from a couple of different staff members. There's also a matter of, we're in the most overtime intensive part of the year right now in office operations, and additionally, there's new software coming in that office, and the rollout of that software and the training and actually getting the actual software up and running is anticipated to have overtime as well. Anything I missed there, Ray?
I believe that covers it.
Yep.
Thank
That's
you.
what I have.
And also, we have the Nassau County IMA agreement where it creates some overtime too.
Right.
As well.
Okay. Any questions from the council?
Ray, on that agreement with Nassau County, that we make money.
Yes,
We get paid.
So
since we approved it in 2020, billed them for about $36,000, and it's cost the city about $11,000.
So that's a net positive, not a
About
negative.
$25,000 so far.
So, all right.
All right, any questions from the public? Seeing none, on to item 9.
Item 9 is a resolution authorizing settlement of certiorari proceedings.
Good evening again. This is a tax cert settlement for 700 Shore Road Water's Edge, Inc., which is a 180-unit co-op. It handles 5 years of 5 tax years and a 3-year moratorium on filing. It's a lump sum cash refund of $85,000. It reduces the assessed value from $680 to $585. There is no interest included in the settlement, no interest payments, and like all settlements, it prevents us from paying for an appraisal, a court-ready appraisal, and for consultants to go to trial. And I believe it's in the best interest of the city to settle. Thank you.
Okay, and you're not going to be surprised with this questions because I ask you every time. What are they currently paying in taxes and what will they pay after the settlement? Oh, come on, I ask you this, everyone.
I know,
You usually have this.
I apologize, I do not have the actual
Okay.
tax dollars with me.
Okay,
And this is a much better settlement than what the county did.
yeah,
Just want to put that out there. And I apologize for not having that.
okay. Any questions from the council? All right, any questions from the public? All right, seeing none, on to item 10.
Item 10 is a resolution authorizing the acting city manager to purchase assessment software for the city.
Good evening again. This is the third step of the process. The city council has approved a capital budget amendment in January, as well as a bonding authorization as well to purchase software for the assessment department. This is going to take the place of antiquated software that was developed in the 90s. We've been trying to upgrade for the past couple of years. Our current software provider has not started the upgrade process. So we have to move forward for stability with our tax system, as well as in the future, near future, the most of the third floor as well will be upgrading and switching over to the Tyler platform as well. It will be integrated along with the financial system, the Tyler Munis system as well. So everyone will be talking to each other and we'll streamline some processes.
Okay. At the last city council meeting, we approved the funding for this, which was 146.
That includes contingencies.
That's what I was,
Yeah,
so
there's
that the extra
25,000
25
built
is
in.
for
Yeah.
the built-in unexpected stuff?
Yes.
Okay. Any other questions from the council? Right?
Yes, Ray. I'm just curious about this contingency. This is software. We have a service contract with it. We have a yearly, I think we pay, what, $26,000 a year? Well, it comes out to about $31,000 a year for this
Yes.
software. What contingencies?
Once we start mapping everything out, looking at reports, if we needed something added because of our business process, that would be an added cost. We're looking at the field mobile function, which is going to be extra. That's when we could go out into the field. We'll have all the data on the tablet where we could just data entry when we're at the house.
So that this wouldn't all be included when they sold us this?
Not in the base contract, no.
Okay.
All right, any other questions from the council? Any questions from the public? All right, seeing none, on to item 11. Thank you, Ray.
Item 11 is a resolution declaring the City Council of the City of Long Beach lead agency for the Pacific Park Playground Improvement Project, declaring said project to constitute a unlisted action and authorizing the acting city manager to execute and accept a grant for the renovation of Pacific Playground with the New York State Office of Parks, Recreation, and Historic Preservation.
Correct. This is a resolution, as you said, authorizing the city manager to accept a grant from the New York State Office of Parks, Recreation, and Historic Preservation to rehabilitate the Pacific Avenue Playground. This resolution also confirms that the city is the lead agency under the State Environmental Quality Review Act. Pursuant to the regulations, the rehabilitation of the Pacific Playground is considered an unlisted action, and which basically just requires that you fill out a short environmental assessment form and do and have negative declaration. We have filled out both of those documents in-house, and an unlisted action means that basically there's no environmental significance to the work that we're going to be doing at the playground. Just so you know, the grant is for $335,350. The city matches 50%, so therefore we have to put forth that same $335,350. So the total value is $670,700. We have funding available in the capital budget for that match. This resolution is a requirement of the grant process, and it's due February 17th. So it's I suggest that we do pass this so we can get the money that we applied for. And we're going to be working on the design of this in-house with our small staff. And Probably, I'm hoping to get this done by late summer, early fall. That would be my projected timeline, but I'll have a better idea once this grant is executed by the Office of Parks and Recreation. And just so your council knows, we started work today on Magnolia Playground, and they're actually, they ordered the equipment, and I think they're going to be ahead of schedule with that project, possibly even before Memorial Day.
Excellent.
Wow, that would be great.
I'll keep you posted.
Okay.
Thank you, Joe.
Thank you.
All right, any questions from the council? Seeing none, any from the public? Okay, thank you, Joe. On to item 12.
Item 12 is a resolution authorizing the acting city manager to accept a donation for the repair or replacement of a Zamboni electric charging station for the Long Beach Ice Arena.
So last week before last, I went to a meeting for the Chamber of Commerce. It was to give out some of the awards for the electric light parade over at the Alegria, and during that meeting, I was asked if I would give an update. I think I was on the job for 4 days a week. So I gave an update as to the status of the city, and was talking about, and the questions came up about the Zamboni that had gone down. We borrowed one from Freeport, who graciously allowed us to use their spare Zamboni. And during the conversation, after I came off from the microphone, the Ingle Berman personnel came up to me and said, "Hey, would $5,000 help with the repair of some of the issues that you're having with the Zamboni?" And I said, "Yeah, that'll help." So they graciously offered to give us $5,000 towards the Zamboni. The issue with our Zamboni is the chargers now, the wall pack that hangs on the wall that charges the batteries, and this is going to be put towards that repair, and we're very grateful and thankful to Ingle for offering this money to us. Definitely.
All right, any questions from the council?
Ronnie, I know we were talking about going to a diesel or internal
Propane.
combustion. Propane.
Yes.
Okay. And if we do that, we wouldn't be using the electric anymore? We would be selling the electric?
So I've been in numerous conversations. I can't see if Joe's out there, but
right
oh, there you are. But Joe, you don't have to get up if you don't want to. I think I got it, but you can get ready. We've actually been in a lot of conversation on this. Joe has been working with our legislator, Denise Ford, who is working on an intermunicipal agreement with us for the county to fund a Zamboni for us. So it's not done yet by any means, and Joe's working on the final paperwork to give to me that I can send to the county. That takes a period of time, probably 8 months to a year. So our plan right now is to get the current Zamboni up, running, and working properly, buy a second Zamboni, because most municipalities that have an ice rink that's as active as ours have two, purchase a propane Zamboni, not an electric Zamboni, then take our electric Zamboni, trade it in, and purchase another propane Zamboni and get away from the things that's torturing us right now.
So that'll give us 3 Zambonis?
No, we have to give Freeport's back. They didn't give us that.
Okay. Yes.
They've been very magnanimous in not asking for it back right now. The amount of time it takes our current machine to charge, it's not in between sessions. It's maybe once or twice a day we can get a cut of the ice with the electric, and then we have to use the propane. So it's sort of 2 Zambonis doing the job that we normally have
So
one
when
doing.
we have the new charger,
Correct. Then we'll be returning the Freeport Zamboni and biting our
then we'll
fingernails.
just have one.
And we'll have one until we get the money from the county to buy another one, and then we'll have a plan on getting rid of the electric one and getting another propane one, because right now we feel that that's more reliable for our needs.
So we can't keep Freeport until we get the second, the
Um,
propane one?
Freeport is running with one right now, so the second theirs breaks, we'll be trucking that back over to them. So,
Okay.
yeah.
All right, any other questions from the council? Seeing none, any from the public? All right, on to item 13.
Item 13 is a resolution authorizing the acting city manager to purchase a fire alarm management system with the sole responsible bidder. I believe we have an amendment on this item?
Yes. I'd like to make a motion to change the whereas part Office of Commissioner of Public Works to purchasing.
Purchasing agent.
Purchasing agent.
Second.
Voting on the amendment, Councilmember Postoli.
Yes.
Councilmember Lester.
Yes.
Vice President
Yes.
Treston. President Bendo.
Yes.
Okay, continue.
So, Joe, if you want to talk to it, I could talk to it for a little bit. If there are any specific questions, I'd appreciate you. I'm not as familiar with it, but this particular item is actually where the commercial fire alarm systems around the city report back and automatically tell the fire department that there's a reported fire issue at a location. I know that maybe Councilman Lester might have some questions, so Joe, any questions that you might have? John, feel free. Sorry, didn't mean to do your job.
Well, but Joe.
Let him explain.
I'm
first.
Do you want to explain a
Wait,
little
wait,
deeper,
let him
Joe?
explain first.
Yeah.
Look, Ron kind of.
Make sure you throw it in there that it's a moneymaker,
Wasn't
too.
sure what he was saying.
Good evening, Joseph Miller, Fire Commissioner. The Fire Department is requesting the council approve this purchase for the Keltron LS7000 Fire Alarm Management System. This fire alarm management system is utilized by our fire dispatch office to monitor the many high-rise buildings, businesses, schools, and houses of worship throughout the city 24 hours a day. The request was put out to bid, and All Service Controls was the sole bidder with a cost of $46,817. The added maintenance agreement of $4,800 a year enables us to have 24/7 service and emergency repair coverage if needed. The cost of the fire alarm panel is being covered by the Community Development Block Grant money, and the investment into the fire alarm panel will be realized within the first year of application.
All right. Joe, just, do you know offhand about how old the system we have now is?
Best guess, 8 years, 10 years
Okay.
that we currently have. We have problems with the screens fading. It's like an old computer where you
Right.
can't read the screen anymore. That's part of the issue we have. This will put it into a computerized form on the computer with the rest of our computer-aided dispatch. We'll have instant access. Right after Sandy was replaced, so it's minimum of 10.
Okay. And it's not like your grandmother's refrigerator, which is supposed to last for 40 years.
No, this is
like-
computer stuff.
This is computer stuff. It gets outdated and,
Outdated a week later.
yeah. Okay. Any other questions? And that means Roy?
So, Joe, that's what we're using right now?
The outdated one, yes.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Well, when it was sold to us, was it sold with a life expectancy?
That I can't answer. I don't know exactly what the expectancy was at that time, but with any computer system, it's going to have a certain life.
So we put no money aside for knowing that the eventuality. Is that correct?
Well, no, last year, part of the capital budget, I included the Keltron panel to be for this year, and the community development money became available, so
Right.
we used
Yeah.
that instead of using the
I saw that.
budgeted amount.
And I guess what bothers me, and I know you've heard this a million times from me, is sole bidder. Why?
We put
doesn't-
it out to bid. It's a very technical piece that not too many companies did. All Service was the only one that bid on it.
Are we the only city that has something like this?
No, other municipalities might have things, but for us, this is a lifeline for the businesses, for the high-rise, the
No
residents.
question. I'm not debating its value. I'm debating the sole bid, and that's what I'm trying to avoid.
Right. Well, we put it out to bid, and we didn't get anything back. We rebidded it, and All Service was the only one that put the bid in.
And Nassau has a similar,
I can't say what Nassau has.
I can tell you that Keltron systems do exist in the county. I know that there's one in the Public Safety Department. I used to manage that department when I was over there. And I believe that Firecom has something similar to this. I don't know if Keltron is the manufacturer of it. And so do some of the other fire districts around the county. To answer your question about the actual time frame that these things are supposed to last, as someone who ran the county IT department, on the police side, 5 to 6 years is the maximum amount of time you should really expect your computers to work to meet the needs of the ever-developing, IT area. However, the systems, if they're operational and work, and we don't have experienced problems with them, will extend that lifetime until such point in time where they become unreliable, or the communications of the panels in the field, for instance like this, can't communicate anymore with the system. So that's generally the way the approach you take is, if there's no issues with it running, we'll leave it. But like with our servers in the city right now for some of our systems, they're 5.5 going on 6 years old, and they're not supported. They're going out of support. And I believe, if I'm correct, Joe, the actual support from Keltron itself for this system is falling off the back end, where they're not going to be supporting this? Is that?
The current one that we have, yes.
Yeah, so they're no longer going to support it. So if it breaks, we won't be able to use it.
So we have no support for it right now?
No, we do
Hasn't fallen
have
off yet.
support, but they're not going to be able, the system itself is not going to be able to be utilized because of age. We're not going to be able to continue on without doing something about it.
Okay, thank you.
All right, any other questions from the council? Any questions from the public? Mr. Hodge?
I can stay right here?
Sure.
Okay, thank you. James Hodge, 95 East Fulton Street, in our great city. I just wanted to stand in support, as I've been doing for probably over 20 years, the volunteer fire department. I don't think we can ever support them enough. This is not my first time, and anybody that's been volunteering a long time, Commissioner Kimmons and so many others know I've always stand up. I just believe that if they're saying that something is wrong with it and it has been duly researched, and the Commissioner Miller, again, they're running in when we're running out. Roy, you are a lifesaver. You've been, I don't know if you're a fish, but you've been swimming a long time saving lives. You know, I learned how to swim in 2nd grade, which you have to learn here in Long Beach when you grow up and live in Long Beach. But I believe that you understand every aspect of saving a life, a piece of equipment, all of that is truly very important. And so I encourage this city council to support this fire department. It fits the area, it's within the area to utilize the funds, and they're saving lives. They have thousands of calls all year long. And I know you don't disagree, Roy, but I'm just saying that if our city manager and the executives of the fire department have looked into all of this information, whether it's a 3-year warranty, 4-year warranty, if it's glitching and not working and the screen, I'm thinking that could be in my family. I don't want no glitches going on. So I want them to get whatever dimes, nickels, thousands, or millions they need so they can actually do the best that they've been doing. So I'm just standing up in support of whatever equipment that they need, and the switchboard and whatever board they're talking about.
James, this is for the alarms, the commercial alarms, okay? We make money on this, no question about it.
Mhm.
This is not, you know, a life-saving piece, well, any alarm, of
So it's
course,
alarm,
can be.
that's life-saving,
Yeah,
right?
It could be.
Well, if
But
you sleep,
what I'm
it's gonna wake
saying,
you up.
James, what I'm saying is that the people of Long Beach pay for all of this, okay? So we have to, at some point, look to get the best deal that we can.
Mhm.
That's all I'm saying. Nobody wants to deny them anything. But for the taxpayers, they deserve that the people look into the best deal. That's all I'm saying.
You're right. This grant, this is a grant, right, coming from the federal government to Nassau County to us?
It's coming from the CBGB money.
Okay, so that's
Yes.
coming from the federal government.
Yes.
It's not coming out of the regular tax base.
Does that mean we shouldn't look to
No, no,
get
no,
the
but I'm
best
just-
deal?
I'm just
Yeah,
saying,
I
you
know.
said it's coming out of
Grant
the
money is still our money.
I
James.
understand that,
They're
but I just want to
federal
make sure
taxes, yeah.
that it's a grant that
Oh,
we're
it
talking
is,
about.
yeah.
Okay, got you. All right, thank you so much. I appreciate you, and I know you love saving lives because you are our lifeguard. Thank you for your service. Thank you.
Okay, thanks. Any more questions from the public? All right, seeing none, let's move on to item 14.
Item 14 is a resolution authorizing city membership for the interlocal purchasing system and the retention of Troy and Banks Consultants LLC as independent auditors to perform gross receipt tax and franchise-free audits.
Okay, good evening. So this is, the resolution is pretty self-explanatory, but we're asking the council to authorize our membership in an interlocal purchasing system. This is very similar to Sourcewell that we already participate in, and other kind of cooperative purchasing organizations, right? For the purpose of entering into an agreement with Troy and Banks as independent auditors to perform audits of all of our gross receipt taxes, our cable franchise fees, our gas, electric, and telecom operator franchise fees, electric, gas, propane, water, sewer, and telecommunications account invoices, to see if there's money that we haven't collected properly to get us the money that we're entitled to under the law. What it costs the city is nothing if they recover nothing. It's a contingency-based agreement for each audit, so they only get paid if we get paid. And that's all I have.
Oh.
You got it.
I think I can anticipate.
Well,
Go
look,
ahead.
Go ahead, Rick. Go ahead.
I'm gonna take presidential discretion and go first. So there's two things. I guess mine is more of a procedural question. There's two things going on in this resolution. One is to join the interlocal purchasing system, and then the other one, which is separate, but because they're part of interlocal, is engaging Troy and Banks. Because the two are actually separate things, Troy and Banks is part of interlocal, but they're actually separate things. Should this have been two separate resolutions?
I think you can do it either way. It's a question of form over substance, but assuming we separate them, right? If you vote no on one, the other one dies. So why not just have one vote?
And it's funny because we actually discussed that, and we thought it would be more easier for the council to see both resolutions on one document so that they could be put together and be work kind of synergistically, so it would make a greater understanding, and it was a legal way to present it.
Okay.
Right?
You didn't anticipate.
No, I can. You're probably going to ask about the a percentage that they get paid, and is that negotiable?
You're good. You're
Yeah.
good. What is the
Is
percentage?
that pretty good?
And I got it written down.
So is that what you wrote it down?
I wrote it down too,
Yeah,
'cause
sure.
So-
in anticipation.
It's a state bid contract, and it's non-negotiable, so
No, what is the contingency?
do you have the exact amount,
Yeah, I was gonna
percentage?
say So for gross receipts tax, they get 33%, if they get anything. 40% for cable franchise fees, 33% for electric, gas, propane, water, sewer, and telecom fees. Plus, if there's any long-term savings, they get 33% of the monthly savings for 12 months. And then 40% for client franchise fees for gas, electric, and telecom.
So basically, the higher fees are for the clawback, and then they get 1 year's worth of the percentage of 1 year going prospectively, and then after that, it's all
But
ours.
it's not on top of the other 33.
Just the prospective.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which is a lower rate.
Any more?
No.
Okay. Any
Sure.
other questions from?
You knew I was going to ask.
See?
I should have.
We're getting predicting. If I'm writing it down before I even get here.
I am predictive.
Any questions from the public? All right, seeing none, on to item 15.
Item 15 is a resolution authorizing publication of a notice of public hearing for the filing of an application with the County of Nassau for the purpose of undertaking a community development program under Title I of the Housing and Community Development Act of 1974 as amended, and Title II of the National Affordable Housing Act of 1990 as amended, for inclusion in the city's community development program for the 23-24 49th year. This item is for publication only, and a hearing will be held February 21st at 7 p.m. Item 16 is a resolution authorizing publication for hearing of an ordinance to amend the Code of Ordinances of the City of Long Beach regarding special events, offenses, miscellaneous, and parks and recreation. This item is for publication only. A hearing will be held February 21st at 7 p.m. Item 17 is a resolution authorizing publication for hearing of an ordinance to amend the Code of Ordinances of the City of Long Beach regarding Ocean Beach Park. This item is for publication only. A hearing will be held February 21st at 7 p.m. Item 18 is a resolution authorizing publication of notice of public hearing of an application to waive off-street parking requirements for premise 776 West Beach Street, street floor. This item is for publication only. A hearing will be held February 21st at 7 p.m. Item 19 is approval of the minutes from prior meeting of January 17th, 2023. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Voting, Councilmember Apostoli.
Yes.
Councilmember Lester.
Yes.
Councilmember, Vice President Treston.
Yes.
President Bendo.
Yes.
Okay, on to the voting. Item 1 is an ordinance to amend the Code of Ordinances of the City of Long Beach regarding housing and property rehabilitation and conservation code mortgage and default registry. Who would introduce and move the adoption of this item?
I will.
Second?
I will.
Voting, Councilmember Apostoli.
Yes.
Councilmember Lester.
Yes.
Vice President Treston.
Yes.
President Bendo.
Yes.
Item 2 is a resolution authorizing the acting city manager to purchase industrial and commercial equipment and supplies under 2 Sourcewell contracts. Who would introduce and move the adoption of this item?
I will.
Second?
I will.
Voting, Councilmember Apostoli.
Yes.
Councilmember Lester.
Yes.
Vice President Treston.
Yes.
President Bendo.
Yes.
Item 3 is a resolution authorizing budget amendments to the general fund budget and sewer fund budget for the 22-23 fiscal year. Who would introduce and move the adoption of this item?
I will.
Second?
I will.
Voting, Councilmember Apostoli.
Bless you. Yes.
Councilmember Lester.
No.
Vice President Treston.
Yes.
President Bendo.
Yes.
Item 4 is a resolution authorizing budget amendments to the Community Development Fund for the 45th program year. Would you just move the adoption of this item?
I will.
Second?
I will.
Voting, Councilmember Apostoli.
Again, I'd like to thank Patty, Ina, Monique, and all for their work on this important program. I vote yes.
Councilmember Lester.
Yes.
Vice President Treston.
Yes.
President Bendo.
Yes.
Item 5 is a resolution authorizing annual allocation of community development funds for the 48th program year. Who would introduce and move the adoption of this item?
I will.
Second?
I will.
Voting, Councilmember Apostoli.
Yes.
Councilmember Lester.
No.
Vice President Treston.
Again, I'd like to thank everyone on their work as well. Yes.
President Bendo.
Yes.
Item 6 is a resolution authorizing transfer of funds for the 22-23 fiscal year. Would you just move the adoption of this item?
I will.
Second?
I will.
Voting, Councilmember Apostoli.
Yes.
Councilmember Lester.
Yes.
Vice President Treston.
Yes.
President Bendo.
Yes.
Item 7 is a resolution authorizing transfer of funds for the 22-23 fiscal year. Would you just move the adoption of this item?
I will.
Second?
I will.
Voting, Councilmember Apostoli.
Yes.
Councilmember Lester.
Based on my research on what cash machines cost and letter openers cost, I'm voting no.
Vice President Treston.
Yes.
President Bendo.
Yes.
Item 8 is a resolution authorizing transfer of funds for the 22-23 fiscal year. Would you just move the adoption of this item?
I will.
Second?
I will.
Thank you.
Voting, Councilmember Apostoli.
Yes.
Councilmember Lester.
Yes.
Vice President Treston.
Yes.
President Bendo.
Yes.
Item 9 is a resolution authorizing settlement of certiorari proceedings. Who introduce and move the adoption of this item?
I will.
Second?
I will.
Voting, Councilmember Apostoli.
Yes.
Councilmember Lester.
Yes.
Vice President Treston.
Yes.
President Bendo.
Yes.
Item 10 is a resolution authorizing the acting city manager to purchase assessment software for the city. Who introduce and move the adoption of this item?
I will. Sorry.
Second?
I will.
Voting, Councilmember Apostoli.
Yes.
Councilmember Lester.
Based on the amount for the contingency, I'm voting no.
Vice President Treston.
Yes.
President Bendo.
Yes.
Item 11 is a resolution declaring the City Council of the City of Long Beach lead agency for the Pacific Park Playground Improvement Project, declaring said project to constitute an unlisted action, and authorizing the acting city manager to execute and accept a grant for the renovation of Pacific Playground with the New York State Office of Parks, Recreation, and Historic Preservation. Who would just move the adoption of this item?
I will.
Second?
I will.
Voting, Councilmember Apostoli.
Well, my daughter grew up playing at that playground, and I am happy to see this work being done for all the youth here, so yes.
Councilmember Lester.
Yes.
Vice President Treston.
Thank you, Joe. Thank you, everyone, for getting this done. Absolutely, yes.
President Bendo.
Yes.
Item 12 is a resolution authorizing the acting city manager to accept a donation for the repair or replacement of a Zamboni electric charging station for the Long Beach Ice Arena. Who introduce and move the adoption of this item?
I will.
Second?
I will.
Voting, Councilmember Apostoli.
Yes.
Councilmember Lester.
Yes.
Vice President Treston.
Yes, and thank you very much.
President Bendo.
Yeah, this was an example of Ron and I happen to be sitting in the right place at the right time. So, yes.
Item 13 is a resolution authorizing the acting city manager to purchase a fire alarm management system with the sole responsible bidder. Who introduce and move the adoption of this item as amended?
I will.
Second?
I will.
Voting, Councilmember Apostoli.
Yes.
Councilmember Lester.
I wish I could just vote for the system and not a one-year service contract on a brand-new warranted alarm system. So I'd vote no.
Vice President Treston.
Okay. Absolutely, yes.
President Bendo.
Yes.
Item 14 is a resolution authorizing city membership for the interlocal purchasing system and retention of Troy and Banks Consultants, LLC, as independent auditors to perform gross receipt, tax, and franchise-free audits. Would you just move the adoption of this item?
I will.
Second?
I will.
Voting, Councilmember Apostoli.
Yes.
Councilmember Lester.
Yes.
Vice President Treston.
Yes.
President Bendo.
Yes.
Item 15 is a resolution authorizing publication of a notice of public hearing for filing of an application with the County of Nassau for the purpose of undertaking a community development program under Title I of the Housing and Community Development Act of 1974 as amended, and Title II of the National Affordable Housing Act of 1990 as amended, for the inclusion in the City Community Development Program for the 23-24 49th year. Who introduce and move the adoption of this item?
I will.
Second?
I will.
Voting, Councilmember Apostoli.
Yes.
Councilmember Lester.
Yes.
Vice President Treston.
Yes.
President Bendo.
Yes.
Item 16 is a resolution authorizing publication for hearing of an ordinance to amend the Code of Ordinances of the City of Long Beach regarding special events, offenses, miscellaneous, and parks and recreation. Who introduce and move the adoption of this item?
I will.
Second?
I'll second.
You'll second, okay. Voting, Councilmember Apostoli.
Yes.
Councilmember Lester.
I don't think this is anywhere ready to go to the public. I'd vote no.
Vice President Treston.
Yes.
President Bendo.
Yes.
Second. Okay, item 17 is a resolution authorizing publication for hearing of an ordinance to amend the Code of Ordinances of the City of Long Beach regarding Ocean Beach Park. Who introduce and move the adoption of this item?
I will.
Second.
I will.
Voting, Councilmember Apostoli.
Yes.
Councilmember Lester.
Again, another resolution I don't think is ready to go to the public based on the way it's written. I vote no.
Vice President Treston.
Yes.
President Bendo.
Yes.
Item 18 is a resolution authorizing publication of a notice of public hearing of an application to waive off-street parking requirements for premise 776 West Beach Street. Who introduce and move the adoption of this item?
I will.
Second.
I will.
Voting, Councilmember Apostoli.
Yes.
Councilmember Lester.
Yes.
Vice President Treston.
Yes.
President Bendo.
spoiler alert, it's Sorrento's opening a bakery. What's not to like? Yes.
City manager's monthly personnel report has been filed by the city clerk. Who will make a motion to close the meeting?
I will.
Second?
I will.
Voting, Councilmember Postoli.
Yes.
Councilmember Lester.
Yes.
Vice President Treston.
Yes.
President Bendo.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. Yep. All right. Excuse me. Mr. Paganini.
You can use the podium mic, sir.
You're good.
Hello there. All right, Ron Paganini, Long Beach. First thing I want to say, before I get into my little speech here, is that I spoke to Mr. Walsh, our acting city manager, like I had said. It was a great meeting. This individual is focused. He's raring to go. I've never met anybody like this guy in my life. I'm telling you that's the truth. If things can be done, it will be done. Thank you, Mr. Walsh, for that meeting. And let me continue. First order of business for me. Mr. Bendo, I just want to, we had talked the last meeting about the firefighters. I just want to make it clear here that, I don't blame the firefighters at all. I blame the administration. The second that Donna Gaten signed that MOA, the memorandum, OT was unlimited. I knew from the start because I know the past. When the city manager, Schneerman, had made an MOA with them in 2016, they agreed to basically take on 10 paramedics, and the promise was to, give them raises, but it went into they reneged. By the time the paramedics got to you, they were gone. There was one left, and that's what happened. I got one more thing about the firefighters. They're making a big salary like this in 1 year, and I was just wondering, this person would have had to work 6,000 hours within 1 year. A regular 40-hour guy a week is 2,000. So 6,000 hours. I don't know how he did it or how they're doing it, but I want you to look into a safety issue on that. All right, I'm done with that. Let's get down to real business. Why am I here, really? What is my purpose at this meeting? Well, my purpose is to represent the taxpayer, which is me, you up there, people behind me, and people all over. The taxpayer, who in the last 10 years, or 11 years actually, paid an average of 5% increase per year, totaling, in 11 years, it's 55% our taxes went up in 11 years. To me, it's a little absurd. But you know what? We all did what we had to do and whatever, but it's not right. Now, this budget coming is crucial. For 30% of our people who live here, they're financially challenged. They're not making much money. That's about 30% who rent or own a home. And all taxpayers and renters who want respect, feel they're being abused by the politician. It's time, listen, that this budget, I'm asking this administration to keep it under the cap, okay? Maybe I'm dreaming, but I think maybe 1% or a little under 2 for 3 years. That's what I'm asking for. And
Okay.
one more thing, it's 2 seconds.
Ron, you're out of time, so if you want to stick around, we'll talk to you after.
All right, listen, I can bring this up I just have reasons here that make this very important.
Yeah, we'll stick around and talk after if you want, or?
All right, I can do that, but it's basically about the tax cap and saving
Okay.
the city. Okay? All right, thank you.
Ms. Lake?
As you're walking up, Crystal, Mr. Paganini, it's 4,806 hours total for the highest number of hours for anybody in the fire department. It's still not what I would consider healthy. Yeah. Nor does that member, by the way. I've spoken to him.
Crystal Lake, congratulations, Mr. Barrios. I wish you well. Your new endeavors. I heard from a little birdie that there were 3 representatives from various governmental agencies on the Bayfront today.
Yeah, Crystal, can you pull that up? Thank you.
Okay. I heard from a little birdie that there were 3 representatives from various governmental agencies on the Bay side. I'm assuming that had to do with the North Shore Critical Infrastructure Project, which I would also like an update. And if I can just piggyback off of something, yes, everything is the prices are astronomical and out of control across the board. So,
I don't know. Joe, do you know anything about?
I can tell you, Crystal, while Joe was walking up here, that with regards to the critical infrastructure project, 3 documents that are about this big were on my desk Wednesday last week. They were signed off on, so the project is authorized to move forward from the city's perspective. And I believe Joe will be able to give a little bit more on that because I think you're going to be happy. So,
Yes, I'm pleased to announce, as the acting city manager said, is that we signed contract on January 25th with Pasilico/Beauvais, and we signed contract with the electrical contractor on January 31st. So both contractors are signed, and notice to proceed have been submitted. So that means we basically have 1 year and 10 months to complete the project from those dates. Today was the pre-construction meeting for the project. So we had a huge meeting today up in the OEM office, about 20 people, with Pasilico, Beauvais, DeVerk & Bartolucci Consulting Engineers. And I think after the meeting, half of them probably went down to the site just to do a walkthrough real quick. So the good news is, the contracts have been signed. We had our pre-construction meeting. Within the next 2 months, you're probably going to start seeing a lot of what's called mobilization, bringing excavators, backhoes, and various types of equipment to the waterfront. And you'll start seeing a lot of activity. Thank you.
wonderful. Thank you. Mr. Fabrizio has always been extremely a pleasure to work with.
I
Thank you.
cannot agree more.
You're welcome. And also, may I have a bathroom for Leroy Conyers Park? Since there was funding available, I think that would be a tremendous asset to the community for the youth, our babies. I mean, since there was some funding for, I don't know if it was already allocated to certain items, but I just thought that this was asked over maybe almost a decade ago for to have bathrooms at certain parks. So if we can squeeze it in at any time, that would be great. If not this time, maybe next time. Thank you.
Thank you.
That might be your first recommendation for CDBG for next year.
Okay. That works.
All right, thank you, Crystal. And once again, the incomparable Mr. Hodge.
Thank you for the introduction. I appreciate it. James Hodge, right here in this wonderful city, 95 East 4th Street. I just wanted to stand and say, I know, Roy, you said I get on your nerves sometimes, but, that is a piece. You said I'm a pain, and so take a painkiller.
I didn't say you get on my nerves, though.
I hope he stopped my time.
Roy
They're
likes
taking my
pain,
time.
so that's a good thing.
Dave, they're taking my time.
No, they're not.
I reclaim my time, Roy.
His finger's going like this. He's pausing it. Don't worry.
So you had I don't know when you get the schedule. You had all the time to ask, what was this piece for? Before you came to the council meeting tonight, and to vote against something, even though it passed, but you voted against it, and it's for helping to save lives. It's a piece of equipment, whether it's for commercial or residential, it's still a piece of equipment. And you voted no. I don't get that. I don't.
You want me to explain it, James?
If you like.
Yeah, it's real simple. You buy a brand new piece of equipment, warranted, and you have to buy a service contract for the first year while it's warranted. Never heard of that.
You know what? You are maybe a great litigator. So I don't know why didn't you litigate this before tonight? I don't know.
Because the public has a right to know.
That's true. That's true.
So, James, the idea of hiding something and doing it all behind the scenes isn't really the right way to do it.
No, I love that you ask these questions, because a lot of times everybody just vote one way. So it's good that you ask these questions, but I'm just wondering if you asked it and they emailed you the response or the answer and you didn't agree with the response, or you wanted to bring it to the forefront. So I say that, and also I like to just take 5 seconds. I take those 5 seconds in all seriousness for the people that have perished in the earthquake, over almost 8,000 lives. And whether, we have people in Long Beach from all over the world. And so as we pause to recognize and pay homage and tribute, and, they're still looking for loved ones that are buried. And so I pray that our city prays for those in Turkey and Syria, and all let us continue to just pray for each other, because people prayed for us when we went through Sandy, through the pandemic all over the world. Let us just continue to pray. I think praying is the most powerful tool that God has given all of us to do for each other. So again, they're literally looking for loved ones right now, and we enjoy the liberties that God give us, our limbs and everything else, and we can, however we get around. So to our city, to Turkey, to Syria, and all of those other areas affected and have family members across the country, we give our prayers and condolences for all of those that have perished. And also, I know we said something about Black History Month, but I'm always here to tell you, I know Florida don't like Black History Month, but 28 days ain't enough to tell my story. Black history is American history, so a month is not good, but we should talk about everybody's history throughout the year, because everybody's story is important for us to continue working together in a united way to make our country, and especially our city, a better place. I love you, Roy. Next time, do your research and vote early, yes. Love it.
All right. So, and probably what is the first ever Spanish form filled out for a good and welfare, Miss Alessi.
Thank you. I wanted to take a moment and thank Rich for his help, his wise counsel here, and the many years of service that he's provided Long Beach. It means the world to us, especially the Latino community, to see somebody with a background such as yourself, so learned, so professional, and so warm and kind to the community. Thank you, Rich, and we're very sad to see you go. Very sad. Secondly, I wanted to say thank you to the City Council and the staff. Amazing. In 2 weeks, of the 4 things that I asked for, I think I got all 4 actually. So yes, thank you so much. I guess I'll read over it to make sure that it's, I don't catch any mistakes, but I don't
Yeah,
think
sent an
so.
email on that, just to take a look at it, because it is an algorithm that does it, but hopefully it doesn't lose
Wow.
anything in the interpretation.
Fantastic. Last thing I wanted to ask is just how are we going to keep the city abreast of the work that Equinor is doing in town? It's gotten quiet in the last couple of months. We haven't seen any community meetings or anything of that nature. So I don't know how that's going to work.
So we have meetings with Equinor scheduled with the city, Department of Public Works. I'm on them, Corporation Council, other members of the city administration are on there. Right now, it's mostly behind the scenes stuff. You know, there are things progressing in that they're working on trying to lay the foundation for their ability to actually put this energy highway, if you will, through the underneath of our city. There are no guarantees. It's all a process that we go through. There are things that the state needs to give us approval for. There's local things that we have to do here. There's a lot of considerations that we have to do. So there will be much more public engagement by them moving into the future. But right now, it's getting a greater understanding on our part of the logistics and the needs that they have. There's also going to come a point in time where we're going to start looking at, you know, how do we actually come up with the value to the city for the underground access that's be given and given to them and things of that nature. So it's a process, and it's not something that you should expect to be thrown at you haphazardly. They also have an entire communications team there and a public relations team there that as we get closer to I guess you would say coming to an agreement, if that's on the horizon for us, and hopefully for green energy it is, you know, that process will become much more public as we get closer to that point where, okay, it's time for the more for public engagement. Right now it's the nuts and bolts, if you will, that are being worked out.
So one last question. I understand we have an environmental committee.
We
Are
do.
they engaged in this process as well?
They're not in the I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
They're not engaged in the process as of yet. The Equinor, I believe they're still working with, do you have that Title VII yet? No, there's a whole.
It's not
Right, so they're still in the Article 7 proceedings before the Public Service Commission to even get this project green-lighted on the state level. Some of the machinations that Acting City Manager Walsh talked about, there are certain steps we have to take to even enable them. Even if we came to an agreement, we still need to take steps affirmatively as a city to even open that door. So those are the conversations that are kind of happening in the background. They've been doing surveys, the ground penetrating radar surveys to make sure everything works, the routes are viable, things like that. So it hasn't been the advisory board. We haven't folded the advisory board into something like that just yet because it's more logistics than I guess what their function would be. But it's probably something we should consider.
Yeah. Yeah, and just the way the process works is basically everything out there in the water is federal. You get within a certain distance of the beach, it becomes state. We're involved in our little strip from beach to the waterfront on the bay, but the way it works is it's called an Article 7 process, where Equinor applies to the state saying we want to run a transmission cable, here's where we want to run it. The state assigns an administrative judge as the arbiter and ultimate decision maker, and they're required to do a certain number of public hearings, take public input. You can actually sign up with the state to become, I forgot the term they use, but the city is signed up, but individuals can do, what is it? An intervener, thank you. And they're required then to give you documents when they become available and inform you of a change. They applied to do something, we've made a decision, things like that. So if you don't mind getting some technical emails and things like that, it's not a bad thing to do. Anyone can do it. Like I said, the city did it because it also gives you some rights at some of the public hearings to provide input and things like that. So, but this is not a fast process because we haven't done this in the United States before. These are all over the place in Europe, but we haven't done them here in the U.S. yet. So there's a bit of fumbling around right now on how this is going to work, because there's some antiquated maritime laws in the United States that make it difficult to do things like this out in the water. So they have to figure that out. We don't have the manufacturing facilities in this country to make these things right now. They are talking about building them. We don't have yet the port infrastructure to do this stuff. Again, they're talking about building a port in Brooklyn, another potentially in Port Jefferson. So this is this is like starting a brand new industry from scratch. So it's not going to be a fast process.
Thank you.
Okay.
Good luck.
All right, and we have Mr. March and some future firefighter calendar, Sam Pinto.
Mr. March, I just got that.
I think he heard that I signed up for the Jones Beach Triathlon, so he knows I'm going to start training. Appreciate that, President Bendo. Good evening, Sam Pinto, Long Beach Professional Firefighters. I actually come up here tonight. I realized and I learned that Mr. Barrios is now leaving. Congratulations, and I want to thank you for all your service to the city. You've been our sounding board, a good ally, a good advocate, a good adversary at some times, but always a reasonable person. And I hope we can get some good things done before you go down south. So I just want to say thank you publicly. You've done a great job for the city. I also want to thank Mr. Paganini, actually, because last meeting he came up and he brought to light information that I was well aware of, others were well aware of, but is due to come into the public light. There have been earnings for firefighters for this great city that went much higher than expected, much higher than planned. And those earnings were the result of not of high salaries, but of extra hours of public service. Those hours went to fill the vacancies and voids that were created by lack of workforce, lack of manpower, to say, for a public safety division that was operating around 50% of its staffing model. And when you have a staffing model like that, depending on overtime, becomes a realization. But that model, I don't believe, is sustainable. Having so many individuals or so few individuals work so many hours takes a toll on the body, takes a toll on delivery of service. And I think we have an opportunity now with the new acting city manager, Mr. Walsh. We've been having conversations with him. In the short time speaking with him, he has really revived fruitful negotiations, fruitful talks, brought real issues straightforward, strong-willed but strong. And fair, and I think that's necessary when you have to make these types of challenging and understanding of these types of decisions. So just to keep in mind, I mean, I want to say once again, Mr. Paganini brought some great points. He may have made a few miscategorizations. I don't blame him. But he brought up the fact that, we can have these individuals or new employees come in at $30 to $60 an hour. I wish in the future that my earnings, my salary rate could be that high. I started at $20 an hour. The cross-trained firefighters who serve as paramedics as well start at $20-something an hour. They don't earn the $30 to $60 an hour that you were initiated in the conversation. So if you take those salary rates and you multiply those by the hours, the cost would be even greater. We have a great opportunity in the city to work together, to try to put together a model that brings efficient delivery of public safety, because public safety is paramount. We brought up some great ideas tonight, some things were voted on that improve public safety, but having a workforce that's capable, able, ready to work, and immediately available to do your duty is critical to the life and protection of property in this city. So I really look forward to working with Mr. Walsh. He has had, since our 2021 MOA, this is the brief time we've spoken, he's done a lot, and I have hopes and optimism that we'll be able to engage in great conversations and great resolutions. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. And thank you, everyone. That's a wrap for tonight, and we'll see you in a couple of weeks.
Oh, yeah, 901.
It's not over.
I guess it's the over-under. She said that